Games, featuring a series of partner events which will highlight your favorite products, manufacturers, artists, and more. Join us every day at 2 o'clock p.m. from November 1st through December 20th for exciting interviews, live audience Q&As, and a chance to win special prizes. Head over to the Fishman YouTube channel now to subscribe and set your notifications so you don't miss out on any of these events. Hey guys, we're back again. This is the Fishman Partnership Series. I am your host, Mr. Ken Susi. So today we have some very special guests. We are here with Spector, and we also have the famous Mr. Rudy Sarzo here to talk with us too as well. So this is a very special surprise for everybody. Guys, if you're watching this live stream right now on the Fishman, we are broadcasting on our Facebook page, our Twitch account, and most importantly, our YouTube account. Please hit us up and click the like and subscribe button. Also set your notifications so you don't miss out on any of these events. As I've been saying this whole time, we've been giving away stuff almost every day, and tune in to see if we're giving something away today. But what I will say is that Spector has been extra cool with us, and they allowed us to also broadcast across their platform. So we are broadcasting on the Spector Facebook, and we're also broadcasting on their YouTube. So do the same. Click the like and subscribe button. Like it and click the subscribe button and set your notifications so you don't miss anything out with them. If you're looking for information about any Fishman product, head over to www.fishman.com where you can find out information about any of our products and wiring diagrams, help, support, the whole nine. Anything you need to know about Fishman, it's right there. So guys, also, I love the fact that we have so many people showing up again. Hello, everyone's saying hi. This totally makes my day that everyone is here to participate, ask questions, hang out. Again, we are broadcasting live. So if you want to jump in on the conversation, just hit us up right here. I will put your question right on the screen, just like this guy right here. Writing, did anyone check out the DM model from yesterday's broadcast? We had Martin Guitars on. I think you meant the MD, the Modern Deluxe. And it's cool that you followed through and checked out the gear after the fact and are here today to talk about it. So, but we are talking Spector exclusively. Anyway, my co-host is here. He's all set to go. Mr. Rob Ketch, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Ken. Super excited to have John from Spector and Rudy Sarzo with us today. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to the conversation.
Nice. Rob Ketch is he's way too overqualified to be as a co-host. He should be the host himself, but today he's letting me have it. Guys, I would like to introduce our guest today. First guest, Mr. John Stippell from Spector. How you doing, John?
Hey, Ken. I am doing great. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you very much for being here. This is awesome. And as everyone can hear in the background, we have the infamous or famous Mr. Rudy Sarzo. How you doing?
You mean my noodling was actually going live all over the world?
You have the same problem I have. Anytime there's an instrument in my hand, I just keep playing it. Doesn't matter. Rudy's a huge fan of music. He's constantly playing, constantly ripping, but guess what? He's the best bass player I know, and probably the best player you know. So let's dive into this thing right now because while I have you on the screen, it'd be good to know, Rudy, how did you get into the music industry? What kind of influences also influenced you into playing bass even in the first place?
The music industry?
Well, music in general. How'd you get into bass?
Music in general.
Yeah.
I'm one of those guys who, even as a child, I was always a searcher, exploring possibilities and things, So my once I became, the Beatles playing the Night Sullivan in 1964 coincided with me turning into a teenager. So it was kind of like my, raging hormones. And trying to find a way how to appeal to girls, and I saw the girls are going crazy. So that's how I got into playing music. That's not even the beginning of the story.
I think all of us that play instruments are just trying to get girls at first, but that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, exactly. So okay, it's a bit of a cliche, but nevertheless, finding out. So music. One of the first things that I found out once I actually own an instrument. I wasn't really a musician. I just owned like a Sears catalog guitar. I became a musician as my identity. Then that opened up my language, and now I'm playing music, which is the universal language. And I was born in Cuba, and I came to the United States I was almost 11 years old. And at the very beginning, I had a challenge. I was challenged to learn English quickly, so I could, assimilate and be part of society. Basically, going to school. I was going to schools in New Jersey, and I had to learn how to speak English really fast. But I found that music was even a faster. It was almost like warp speed. Once I started to learn a few songs, my challenges to communicate with words lessened because I could actually communicate through music. So that's one of the things that I found about music that I fell in love with is the fact that I can communicate. I played all over the world, and I stood in front, performed in front of, like, let's say in Russia for the first time in 1994, and as we were playing, I was in Whitesnake at the time, and we were playing music, and the wall had just come down recently, and the citizens, especially the grown-ups, were able to listen to rock and roll for the very first time without the threat of being arrested and prosecuted and so on. So they were crying. There was such an emotional moment, for all of us, so the power of music, it's definitely the international universal language.
That's awesome. That's awesome. People are automatically jumping in right now. By the way, Mike, it's nice to see you. Let me get some of these questions up here on the screen if I can find my mouse. But Rudy is a freaking legend. I'm going to agree with that.
Yeah.
Right here, someone's saying your English is very good. So you've been practicing.
I'm working on it.
And Brian is writing, Rudy, you're an inspiration to many musicians. As I said, I've disclosed it to you many times that my band would be backstage getting drunk before a gig, and then we'd listen to all your old records and be like, Rudy Sarzo's on this, man. Like, that was our thing.
Thanks a lot, man.
So let me head back over to John real quick. So John, how did you first encounter music? And like, tell our audience and your audience, are you a player, builder? How did you get into it?
Yeah, sure. I guess I really encountered music early on. My dad used to DJ parties, so he had crates of records and then later CDs and stuff. I used to help him carry crates out in and out of the car. And so anytime new music came out or when CD came out and he had to rebuy his whole collection, I was witnessing all that as a young kid and hearing it, create playlists and stuff like that. So music started for me in my house. And I'm really grateful for that. And I got a really good education on music early on without even knowing it. Of course, there was MTV and the radio and everything, but had these stacks of classic rock and oldies and doo-wop and all the stuff that my dad would play at parties. So that was really like my first interaction with music. And then there was a guitar laying around the house, an old Gibson archtop guitar that I still have and still play a lot. And that was kind of my gateway into becoming I hesitate to call myself a musician, but a guitar player. And so I play guitar mostly. Don't tell anybody that, I work here at Spector Basses and play guitar, but, of course,
right.
that's just the way things go. And and of course I have bass guitars at home and I have a couple Spectors of my own and really working on my bass chops lately, just so I don't embarrass myself when trade shows become a thing again. But yeah, that's it. It was started in the house really. And I feel really fortunate to have that experience. And then, it's really all I've ever wanted to do and be around. I started working in a music store, a local guitar shop when I was, 14, 15 years old and, worked my way through college doing that job and worked at a couple different guitar stores and then wound up, getting a job with Korg, working in the warehouse and then learning how to fix amps. And Korg bought Spector, and one thing led to another, and here I am now. So it's been fun.
That's awesome. I was gonna say, when you say you're here now, like how do you find your way into the position that you're in? Because you hold a really important role at Spector. So how do you, for those that are aspiring to be in the music industry, whether it be on stage or even behind the scenes, like how do you even get to where you're at?
Oh man. There's no playbook really, but I'd say that probably the most important thing is just to be persistent. And if that's what you want to do, then you need to find your ins whenever you can. I mean, I left the guitar shop when I was, graduating college. I was in my early 20s, and I took a part-time job just working at Korg in the back, literally putting amps and boxes and stuff, because I just wanted to be around. And I hoped that if I stuck around long enough, I would be able to, kind of weasel my way into some other positions. And so that's what I did. I came on full time eventually. I volunteered myself to get trained up on learning how to fix equipment. We have a ton of B stock and refurbished equipment that come out of our warehouses in New York. So I learned I learned the basic troubleshooting on amps and keyboards and stuff like that. And that was my first full-time gig at Korg. And then again, just started, talking to people and putting applications in whenever jobs would open up. And I found myself interviewing for a product manager gig at Korg, same building that I had been working at. Was fortunate enough to get that gig. That was about 5 or 6 years ago. So I was, working on, for those who don't know, Korg USA, we're our own little what's the word I'm looking for? We're our own little world. We are owned by Korg in Japan, but we have our own operations here in the States, and that includes distributing and supporting a lot of really great brands, including Fox amps, Black Star amplifiers, Waldorf synthesizers, obviously Spector basses, Dark Glass electronics. So at my role as a product manager, I started working, really closely with a lot of these brands around the world, and just kind of jump-started my education into distribution and manufacturing and product development, and it was a ton of fun and a lot of work. And then, Stuart Spector and Korg had a really great relationship for many years, 5 or 6 years. And I was his product manager at Korg USA, so I'd handle all his import products, all his Euro basses and Legend basses and all that stuff. And Stuart decided he was going to sell his company and start focusing on, retiring. And he did that in 2018. Korg was obviously the first choice, and we jumped right on that, and we became the owners of Spector after a really long, successful distribution relationship. And me being the product manager is kind of right place, right time. I stepped into the role as the global brand manager for Spector about 20 months ago or so, and it's been great. It's been awesome.
That's
exceeded
awesome.
my expectations.
That's awesome. Well, we'll head back over to Rudy. Rudy, so quick question. Well, actually, let's take a fan question real quick. I know this is kind of a big question, but if you can summarize it a little bit for somewhat of a quick answer. But Mike's asking, what was it like working with Randy Rhoads? Obviously, he was a close friend of yours. What was it like?
Great question. And my answer is about 320 pages long, because I wrote a book about it called Off the Rails, available on Amazon.com. And but in a nutshell, basically, what was it like to play with Randy Rhoads? There's two Randy Rhoads that I play with. I play with Randy Rhoads, the local Los Angeles legend, who was, he will get up on stage locally in LA and have an incredible fan base, especially girls, But he was in a band, Quiet Riot, which also I was a part of, that we were basically trying to chase our musical tail, trying to get a record deal, get the attention from record companies at a time in Los Angeles where basically if you were in a rock band like Quiet Riot, you were basically considered a dinosaur. So actually, Randy had to go to England, play with Ozzy, and he asked Ozzy, what do you want me to play? What kind of music do you want me to compose? And Ozzy just said simply, be yourself, whatever you want. And that's what gave Randy the possibility of actually going into his classical musical background, because he was playing classical guitar before he was actually playing rock and roll. And that's the Randy that most people know today, the Randy that recorded Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman with no restraints, musical restraints. Actually, that's when he started on his musical journey to really discover who he was as a musician. That's my experience in a nutshell.
That's
playing
awesome.
with Randy Rhoads.
That's awesome. Well, let's jump in to the bass that you're holding. This is such a great story, and I always ask you, I always ask you to tell the story, but I love the story. I basically was sitting at the NAMM booth, and you walked in, and you were like, "Hey, I want to try, the Spector bass that's supposedly hanging up here with Fluence pickups in it." And I'm saying, "Yeah, you're Rudy Sarzo. Of course you're gonna sit down, play." And I love it because I'm a musician. I play in a heavy metal band called Unearth, but I am like you. If I find something that I like, it's like I'm taking that one because it has the mojo, and you have to have that one, right? So you had that experience. Tell us a little bit about what happened when you sat down at the NAMM booth and tried that bass, and how you had to have that bass because of the pickups and how great the bass was.
Absolutely. I came by basically to say hello because I've been associated with Fishman with other products before. And I was looking forward to see what kind of new technology you guys have available. So I walked in, I met you. Actually, I've met you before, I believe.
Yeah.
But, we started talking about basses, and I saw the Spector. Now, I already have my other signature bass with Spector. And I grabbed this bass, and one of the first things that I noticed about it, was that it felt a little bit lighter than my own signature model Spector, which is always a good thing, especially when you're performing. And plus, also the lightness of the wood is going to give it a whole different harmonic fundamentals to it. So it still sounds like a Spector because of the way it's built, but it's going to have a different tonality to it. So Ken, you had me plug in to one of your bass rigs in the booth, and immediately one of the things that I experienced is how fast the response is and how well the notes blend. All the harmonics are stacked on top of each other with a lot of clarity, which is something very, I have not played through pickups that sound like that. And I was like, what is this? The Fluence pickups. And then you wanted to explain to me everything about it. And this is where you jump in, Ken.
Yeah, exactly. Well, obviously I told you, how the bass pickups, how versatile they are, the new technology behind it, the 48 layer, thinly sliced precision coil. Obviously I'll have Rob talk about it a little bit too, but yeah, basically, we gave you so much versatility. We gave you 3 voices. You have a very vintage voice in the up position. The down position is an active voice, and the mid position is a mid contour with a scooped version of that. That blew your mind, and then I remember you talking about the clarity as you mentioned, but then you pushed, you used the push-pull right there, and then you get the split tone of each one of those. So you could select, the front pickup, the neck pickup, the bridge pickup, and you can just get the, the single version of that too as well. So there's so many tonal ranges in there. Rob, do you want to talk a little bit about this as well?
Yeah, you bet. The dynamic response, the clarity, the harmonics, the articulation of Fluence is an attribute that all the pickups have, and was really one of the primary things that led to them being so successful in the guitar world, particularly extended range guitar with 7 and 8 strings. But it really translates into the bass, 4 and 5 string bass. You just get that nice attack and clarity in the low end, and a lot of really useful versatility. So we tried to put a simple implementation that gives you a lot of tones that are going to be applicable and usable in a musical setting. So thrilled that Rudy discovered that particular bass in our booth and liked it as much as he has. I have to tell a quick funny story. We were actually loaned by the very generous and wonderful people at Spector 2 basses for our winter NAMM show. So we have the red bass that Rudy happens to be holding in his hands right now that we had in our demonstration room, and we had an extremely beautiful, extremely expensive Spector USA custom shop model. And I had said, guys, this bass is so beautiful. I'm going to lock it in my office so we can make sure that nothing bad will happen to this absolutely the most expensive guitar in the entire booth. And the day that the booth construction was done, the guitar hangers came down off the wall, and I walked in the first morning of the NAMM show seeing the most expensive, most beautiful instrument we were loaned by the nicest guy, John, and there was a big gouge in it. It was damaged, and I felt absolutely horrible. So John and Brian and the core team were super pros, and they said, Rob, we understand this stuff happens. We, of course, offered to buy it or pay for it or fix it or whatever we needed to do to make it right. And then a little bit later in the show, I was in between meetings. I'm the senior vice president of sales at Fishman, and I work with all the OEM brands like Spector bass. So I'm having meetings all day, every day, and I'm outside in between one meeting. And a gentleman comes over and introduces himself, and he says, "Hi, I'm Chris from Spector Bass. You know, I'm the manager of the custom shop." I was like, "Chris, really nice to meet you." He's like, "I just wanted to check on my baby and see how my bass is doing." And I had the very difficult job of telling this man that his baby had a boo-boo. So I want to apologize again some more still publicly for what happened to the bass. And I know the custom shop was able to repair it, and we made it right. But you know, talk about two instruments taking two completely different paths from the NAMM show. So anyway, enough of that. Back
we
to
can
John
laugh about
and
it now.
So
I'm going to head back over to Rudy too. Rudy, so real quick, you know, let's talk consistency, because now that you have more than just one bass with Fluence pickups in it, you've kind of moved over to putting our bass pickups in your other basses. Can you talk a little bit about consistency? Do you notice that there's consistency now?
Yeah. Well, one of the most important things about consistency is that you're not just getting pickups, you're also getting the preamp. And very few pickup companies that I'm aware of actually pair their preamps to the pickups.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of companies that just offer the pickups, and then it's up to you to choose what preamp you want. And that's not going to give you a consistent result, you know, because not all preamps sound the same with all the pickups and so on, you know. And so this is one of the things that really attracted me to the Fluence pickups. This is the system that you get. This is the whole package. You know.
Nice. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. We have Joe Barbieri from Fishman writing in. So cool to see that guy, a guy like Rudy, still be excited about picking up a new instrument. When it clicks, it clicks. Can't fake it. Joe B, thank you so much for hopping in and saying that. So we're gonna head back over to John real quick. So John, now that you have more Fluence equipped basses, I mean, how do all your basses sound now, like with the multiple versions?
Yeah, that's a good question, because you know, Spector's kind of known for a certain type of sound. We have a pretty mid forward aggressive kind of sound that a lot of players refer to as the growl. You know, so anytime we do anything with electronics, we have to be careful not to lose that essence of that sound. You know, we do a lot of neck through basses, and that's part of it. And you know, certain types of bridge designs and brass nuts and all that stuff creates a kind of a formula that players come to know as a Spector type of sound. So I'm happy to say that with the Fishman, that's still very much, the Fluence is still very much part of our sound. But I'll echo somewhat of what Rudy was saying before, is the clarity and the balance between the pickups and, of course, the different voices is really something new for us and lends a whole different level of versatility to our instrument. And I think it's a really excellent pairing. And it seems, you know, with the few basses that we've released featuring the Fishman pickups, that the players agree. You know, they're able to pick up that Spector and get that growl that they're used to. It doesn't feel like something's missing only that something's been added. So now with the addition of the push-pull and also the voicing switch, you have a kind of a Swiss Army knife of really great bass tones. So we're really excited about it.
Nice. We actually have a question popping up, and then I'm going to hand it back over to Rob. But what is the particular model called? I want one.
So let's go back to that story real quick and just say that red bass that Rudy has, it was not supposed to be built. We work with a really great factory over in the Czech Republic who's been making our basses for nearly 30 years, and NAMM time is always hectic, and I'm always ordering samples like rapid fire and give me one of these, and we got the NAMM show coming up, and so that bass was supposed to be this bass, which is a spalted top. It's really hard to see, I guess, on the camera here, but it's a black stain. It's ebony fingerboard. It is kind of the opposite aesthetically of what Rudy had there. But what's really important about it is that the woods and the electronics package and all of the specifications were the same. They just got the color wrong. So I couldn't really display it at our Spector booth because I was like, well, this looks killer, but I'm not going to have any for sale. So what do I do with this? So that's when I gave that over to Rob, and as luck would have it, Rudy picked it up and fell in love with it. Now it's Rudy's bass, and we'll say that maybe in the coming year that's going to be part of our product line, and look for that out coming out early 21. A new Rudy bass that's kind of inspired by, we'll say, by that happy accident at Winter NAMM 2020.
Wow, super cool. Well, thank you for a little bit of a leak on what's coming up for 2021 there. That is awesome to share. Obviously the red looks fantastic, and it's going to be a great instrument, I'm sure. John, I did want to ask for people that might not know, all Spector instruments are built to the highest of level of quality. That's a given. Can you talk about some of the different ranges that you offer, and maybe up to this point where Fluence pickups have been offered in the range? I know you've used them in some of your different models this year as sort of a transitional year, but give people the rundown of the different options at Spector and what
Sure.
they can get from you.
So let's start let's work from the top down, so to speak.
Sure.
So where I'm actually sitting right here is our USA custom shop up near Woodstock, New York, where Spector has had a home here for nearly 30 years and just recently moved into a new building somewhat down the road. But this is our home. The products that we make here are our flagship basses. Everything that finds its way into the product line at some point starts here. So this is where we're handcrafting basses one at a time, not very many of them. And when new things come out, like Fishman, this is where we prototype and we sample and we produce a lot of new stuff. So here's an example of a USA NS5 XL custom instruments with the Fishman Fluence pickups. This is commissioned by one of our customers that we used Fishman Fluence pickups for the very first time last year and loved them and ordered some more basses featuring the Fishman Fluence. So after experiencing what we experienced, hearing and working with these pickups in the USA shop, we decided that we were going to go and bring it down into our production area. Now, unlike some other bigger manufacturers, we keep our USA manufacturing really tight, really small, and it's purely for our one-off custom instruments, because we have a really, really great factory in Europe that produces a very comparable instrument at a really great price. And that's where the Fluence migrated over to in our Euro LT line. This was a limited run of, there you go, that's a better picture, show that. That was a limited run of 40 some odd instruments that we did for 2020. And that was Fishman debuting in the Euro series for the very first time. And as I mentioned earlier, the reaction to that was really, really strong and really great. So That is currently everything that you can get right now with Fishman equipped in the Spector bases, either from our USA line or from our Euro line. And now again, we're coming up on 2021. We do make some other bases elsewhere in the world. We have a really great factory in Korea that we've worked with for decades now. And we're looking at retooling some of those models, our Legend models and our recently launched NS Pulse models that, could very well appear on the market with some Fishman pickups in the very near future.
Nice. Let me head back over to Rudy because I forgot. I'm super rude. Rudy, John's writing happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Hey, John Bruno, how you doing?
Right. You're 25, right, this year?
Oh yeah, a few times over. Yeah.
So obviously, John was talking about his bases, but I mean, what attracted you to Spector in the first place? Like, what do they offer you live? What do they offer you in the studio? It's just good to know from a player's perspective. Like, what do these bases bring you, and why do you have such a connection with them?
Okay. What really attracted me to Spector, and I started playing Spector about maybe 7 years ago, was the identity in the tone. It's a very identifiable tone that if you match the tone with the player and the music that's been performed. And at the time I was playing I was touring with Jeff Tate's version of Queensryche, and we were doing all of Operation Mindcrime. And the bass that I was playing, I was hearing what I was playing, and I said, okay, I'm playing the correct notes, but it just doesn't have the same character, especially in a musical work such as Operation Mindcrime, where I hear the bass as a character in the story, and it just was not. I did not have the right cast yet, and I said, you know what? I need a Spector to fulfill that. This is it. This is the character that I need in the band, in the song, in Operation Mindcrime as a whole work. And as soon as I started playing it, I got more compliments during that period playing with Jeff's version of Queensryche that I've had in decades. I said, you know what? I'm sticking with this. This is the right instrument for me.
That's awesome. I'm going to head back over to John real quick. John, so Steven's popping in here and writing, as a Spector USA user, he's submitting that he's a snob. I have tried the Euro Series instruments, and I have to admit they compare very favorably to my USA basses. Any reason for that? You want to add to that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. There's really good reason for that. We've been making the Euro range for close to 30 years. It goes back to the early 90s. And at that time, Stuart Spector went over there and spent a lot of time in the Czech Republic, in a small town about 40 minutes outside of Prague. There's a lot of craftspeople, there's a lot of manufacturing, and the folks there, Peter and his crew, were building instruments for generations, but never electric basses. So Stuart went over there, somehow found these folks, and and spent a lot of time there, kind of schooling them and educating them on how his approach to building a bass. So they were taught directly by Stuart, and that goes a long way for sure. Other things, really the construction of the instrument has a lot to do with the way that it sounds. And we never compromise on the quality of the materials that we use as well. So, we're doing things in a very similar fashion as we do them here in the United States. The things that are different is just because of the quantity that we produce here versus the quantity that we produce there, is that you get a little bit more of a hands-on, more unique approach to what we build here in the United States. We'll do a custom color for you. You can choose your top wood, you can choose your back, you can choose your fretboard, we'll do custom inlays, all these kind of things, right? In the Euro series, it's a little bit more of just a production line, a very high-end, high-quality production line, using a lot of the same equipment materials as well. Many of the same suppliers we have for our hard rock maple and quilted maple and pickups and electronics, of course, they're the same across both factories. So it's really it's dialed in purposely that way to provide high quality instrument that's going to last you a lifetime from either destination, you know, and that's true of our overseas Korean made stuff as well. So we don't compromise on those kind of things. We don't sell the most basses out of anybody in the industry by far, but I like to say that we sell some of the best basses. So that's all on purpose.
Nice, that's good. Well, we also have another question rolling in here, and I'll let actually maybe both of you guys answer this in a sec.
Cool.
Given the demands of live performance in different settings and styles, can I closely approximate other classic instruments with this bass? Like meaning maybe the Rudy bass or even...
Sure. Yeah, I'll say a quick thing about that. And I'd like to actually hear it from Rudy because he's got some on-the-job experience with that. But, you know, like I mentioned before, Spector is known for sound. You know, with our neck through construction, active electronics, we have a way more aggressive, mid-forward, biting kind of sound. Hasn't always been the most versatile, honestly. But with the addition of something like the Fishman Fluence system, we're able to now recreate the sounds that we're used to, and some of those more classic, maybe passive style sounds. So, Rudy, I don't know if you want to speak to that.
Yes, and I will double on what you're saying. Actually, I've been playing with a band called the Guess Who, which is a classic rock band, and you know, when I started working with the front of house engineer about the sound of the group, you know, because the audience expects the band to sound a certain way. He actually told me, listen, you know, I'm favoring passive instruments, and I said, oh wow, okay, I have an issue because I play a Spector, and he said, yeah, Spector might be a little bit too heavy for that. And it wasn't until I actually started playing this bass that I actually brought the Spector to the band, because what happens with the Fluence, you know, given all the options that I can actually get very close to a passive tone, it works perfect. You know, so I've gotten the most, so many compliments from the guys in the band about this bass approximating a classic tone, you know, for classic rock. It's something like the sound of bass that you would get, you know, back in the 70s, where I can dial in these pickups and the preamp and the bass setting it a certain way with the height of the strings, so I'm not getting like the modern over the top tones, you know, that other basses have. So this, I can dial this in perfectly. And one of the things that I also wanted to mention is one of the great benefits of these pickups is that they're so clean, and the preamp is very clean. If you want edge and growl, all you need to do is just add an overdrive, a pedal to it to give it that growl. So now you're not stuck with one particular tone. To me, this gives me better possibilities than just a bass that has a certain distorted or heavy, sounding preamp, that I'm stuck with that tone, you know, which is great for certain sounds and, you know, certain bands. But I like to, you know, I have very old ears. Not only am I an old guy, I have very old ears. I started, when I started playing, we have flat wounds and that's, you know, that type of tone. And that's always been at the foundation of my tone. It's like, okay, if my bass can get something really clean, and then I can enhance it with pedals and, you know, overdrives, distortions, whatever, then I got a bigger palette to work with.
Nice. That's very well put. Do you want to add to that, John, or should I take another question?
No, I just want to put a little, give Rudy some credit here, because even before we started using Fishman, his whole thing has always been pushing us for versatility, and I think I just want to say, just generally, especially with the stuff going on in Fishman and all these other great companies now, we're really living in like this golden age of gear, and now we're able to do so much, you know, with one instrument. You know, now that someone like Rudy, who's got, I mean, his work speaks for himself, but so many different eras and so many different classic tones that he can now reproduce with the one instrument and maybe a couple of carefully chosen pedals or amps. But just I just don't want that to go understated. It's just really great how the possibilities that we have at our fingertips.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the main reasons why I joined up with Fishman. I was a touring musician, and I happened to walk into the building, and here I am seeing this technology that's never existed before, and I'm saying to myself, how can this pickup be this versatile and this direct and so clean and noiseless and all this stuff? So it's truly amazing technology. I'm going to take a quick second and answer kind of a customer service question, then we'll come right back. But right here, you're asking, does the Fishman Fluence run without a battery, just playing passive? And I believe someone wrote you back and said, yeah, here it is. I'm used to having multiple batteries on hand, so it's okay. But the one thing that I can say is that our pickups technically are powered, so they require power. So we also, if you don't want to use a 9-volt battery, we have battery packs, universal battery packs that you can attach into your bass, or if you're playing guitar, we have Strat style, we have Les Paul style. So you could just put them right on there. You get 200 hours of use. You don't have to think about 9 volts. They're rechargeable. They always give you a consistent level of 9 volts. So don't feel like because you have to add power to you're actually powering the technology. So, just because you have to add power, don't feel like you're limited. So coming back to John, I want to ask you, John, obviously 2020 has been obviously an interesting year, right? So as, working for your company, what has this year actually taught you, on the business side of things and as well as life?
Wow, that's a good question. It certainly has been a year for the books. I think patience has been a really important thing to learn and to harness over this year. And I also think, the ability to be versatile or open-minded in your thinking has definitely proven to be very useful. And honestly, having plans and pushing through them, even when things get tricky, even if in a case of Spector, we've had some delays and we've had to close down similar to Fishman and all these things, but we had a lot of great ideas that we put out on the board, at the end of 19 and early 2020. So when things got a little tough, we still had, our plan and we stuck to it. And, if we're delayed a few months or we have to push things back a little bit, that's okay. But, sticking with the plan, keeping an open mind and being patient is really, I guess, the 3 things that I'm taking away from this year.
That's awesome. That's good attitude to have. I'm going to head over to Rudy. But actually, real quick, guys, while we're here, you're commenting about the battery statement I just made. Those battery packs are lifesavers, super consistent, and I appreciate that you like the info they gave you. And also, if you're not using Fluence pickups and you want to use one of our battery packs, they definitely supply you power. So any type of active pickup or any type of powered pickup you want to use, feel free. But Rudy, same question for you. Obviously, 2020 has been a very interesting year, right? What has this taught you as a musician? Because obviously you're not touring, but what have you learned?
What have I learned? Oh boy. Actually, it gives me more opportunity to actually learn about music and everything that's connected with music. Recently, I've been getting a lot into math for the first time. At my age, I'm getting into algebra and calculus and geometry and so on. Just finding new ways to approach music, from a different perspective than the traditional approach that I've been having all these years. Especially in a more creative fashion. So it's listen. We will carry on. The ones who are left behind will survive, and I think we're going to be a better world for it. This is I look at it as a reset to really be able to take a look at yourself and take a look at everything that you have accomplished so far, and how can you take it to the next level in the most positive way.
Nice. Well, this is the probably the juiciest question I have for you, John. What is coming up for 2021 at Spector? Is there anything that you can share with us today? Give some inside information.
Sure. Well, we just released a new line of basses last week that we're calling the NS Pulse series. Those are really, really cool. They're coming out of Korea, but they're featuring some really cool woods that we've not used before in those price ranges. So we're using swamp ash and Macassar ebony. They've got matching headstocks, roasted maple necks, really cool stuff. One of the projects that I was really most excited to launch earlier in this year, but as I said, we stuck to our plan and we kept an open mind. So that's really good. Again, we've been working really closely with Rudy on a new base and a few more things that are going to pop up early 2021 that are going to be Fishman equipped as well. Short of that, our plans for 2021 are to really kind of ramp up production here at our USA shop. We've been looking at some really cool and interesting new ways to build bases up here and to grow our home here in New York. So that's something that we're focused on. I don't know how quickly that's going to happen, but we've got plans to make our permanent home here in New York even bigger and better. And short of that, we're gonna do the best that we can to honor the great legacy that we've inherited from Stuart Spector and continue to promote all the great work that we do here making these instruments. And so keep an eye out on our social media channels and subscribe to our mailing list, because we're going to be providing some pretty cool content as we move forward into 21 as well.
That's awesome. Well, I figure I'll put us all on the screen. So guys, I think we're out of time now, but this has been such a great honor to be here with you guys. Rob, would you like to say goodbye?
Absolutely. I just want to say thank you very much to both John and Rudy for joining us today. Very, very enjoyable and educational from both of you. Always a lot to learn. Rudy, congratulations on your birthday today.
Thank you.
Yesterday, right?
And thank you for making the time to be with us today, for both of you. We'll talk to you very soon.
Awesome, guys. I'm going to lead us out. Just hang tight, and we'll say goodbye formally after. But hold on one sec. So, everybody, this was another episode of the Fishman Partnership Series. You are watching live on the Fishman Facebook, our Twitch account, and most importantly, our YouTube. You may also be watching on Spector's Facebook and YouTube. They were nice enough to share their credentials with us so we could broadcast live to everybody. We can't thank anybody. We can't thank you enough for joining. It seems like you guys are really here for us, and being a part of the conversation. It means a lot to us. We're going to be back here tomorrow, not at 2:00 p.m. We're going to be here at 5:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Greg Koch is going to be performing from wherever he lives. I believe it's Milwaukee. He's going to be performing for an hour or so at 5:00 Eastern Standard Time. But we are also going to be broadcasting this Saturday at 2:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Javier Reyes from Animals as Leaders. Now, I've been saying that we've been giving stuff away all week and actually all month. We're going to continue to give away stuff. If you show up on Saturday at 2, you could get the opportunity to win a pair of Javier Reyes Signature Series pickups, either in 6, 7, or 8 string. Pretty amazing. Show up on Saturday, and we're going to be here, and we're going to be giving away a set of his pickups. So, guys, we'll see you tomorrow at 5, and we'll see you at 2:00 on Saturday, Eastern Time. It's been fun. See you next time.